L take, you're wrong. You're out of your element. Top bozo takes
saying
against you.
that they
Thank
will be
you.
implementing retaliatory tariffs. You said if that were to happen, that you would be responding with large-scale tariffs. Will you be following through with that promise?
Well, absolutely. But we had a very good conversation. Mark called me today at 10 o'clock.
China and neutral amount. China is never fully neutral. China is just pro-China. They certainly don't. Their engagement with countries as within the region are definitely. I mean, they definitely engage with countries in the region a lot more, but their interference in the affairs are way more hands off than the United States of America is across the world. But that doesn't mean that they don't interfere in the affairs of regional powers, whether it is to maintain stability or have favorable trade negotiations or maintain some kind of a barrier of security around itself. China still certainly interferes in the affairs of countries in the region.
We put out a statement. We had a very, very good talk. He's going through an election now, and we'll see what happens. But we have Liberation Day, as you know, on April 2nd, because, and I'm not referring to Canada, but many countries have taken advantage of us, the likes of which nobody even thought was possible for many, many decades, And, you know, that has to stop. We're going to end up with a very good relationship with Canada and a lot of the other countries. Some we probably won't. It won't be so pleasant. But I think most countries are agreeing with me. They actually, many of them have actually apologized. They said, look, we have taken advantage. And
bro, this guy is living in La La Land. Like, he's just living in his own universe, dude. He's just living on his own. He's living in his own planet. Yeah, everybody loves it. Everybody loves what I'm doing. The market loves what I'm doing. Breaking, over $1 trillion in market value has been lost from the S&P 500 so far today. Hey, man, I'll have you know, we don't care about that anymore because that doesn't make Trump look good, okay? I think you forgot to download the new talking point, which is that it's okay. When it's up, it's great. You know, the great economy lover Donald Trump has fixed the markets. When it's down, we don't care. What are you, fucking woke? It's woke to... The stock market is woke, dude. It's DEI. Like, what are you talking about? Look, see? Nobody cares. It's money from the 1% mostly anyways. It's down like minus 2%. These headlines are silly. As I've said time and time again, the top 10% of wealth in the United States of America own 90% of the stock market. And as it stands, as it happens with everything under liberal capitalism and in the United States of America, the gains in the stock market are privatized, kept in that top 10%, but the losses in the stock market are socialized, so you definitely suffer when the stock market is tanking. But hey, guess what, dude? He's going to fix it all one day. I promise. When we deport the perfect number of Venezuelan dudes with like autism awareness tattoos who teach autistic teenagers how to swim, you know, when we get those guys out of here, all of a sudden everything's going to be better. One day. We just need to deport like another youth soccer coach. There's a perfect number out there. When we arrive at it, you'll see America truly will be great. Okay. You know what it is? It's because we're not sufficiently pro-Israel. I just realized. Because I'm just judging by what the Trump administration cares about. And it seems like they care about, dominating college campuses and making sure that everyone is saying the right things about Israel, which is that, Am Israel Chai, we love Israel, that sort of stuff. The moment that every single person is flying the banner saying Israel is wonderful, is the most moral democracy, then magically everything will be solved. And in order to get there, we just got to keep deportations up. Also, there's a perfect number of tariffs that we need to arrive at too. Once we do that, still mad about deporting illegal immigrants? He's giving us a chance to buy the dip. He's giving us a chance to buy the dip. Dumb chatters. This guy. With what, you dumbass? Yeah, I didn't realize you had a couple spare multiple millions, in your bank account that wasn't tied to the stock market already that you can use to buy the dip. Yeah, you'll buy the dip one of these days. You'll get in on the ground floor. I bought the last 2 dips. It keeps going down. Please help. Yeah. Warren Buffett, dude. Yeah. Buy low, sell high. Duh. Come on, dude. Don't you guys understand? It's pretty simple.
Every single person in this room and the overwhelming majority of people that are
here. Yeah. I wanted to highlight this, of course. One of the classic cases here. Also, is this good? Chat. I'm new to this. I'm new to this day trading business. Is this good? Because it feels like maybe the tariffs back and forth is not looking too great. I don't know. Have you said thank you yet? Have you said thank you once? Oh, my Lord. It's so funny because I got a bunch of friends who are like agnostic to Trump, and you know what that means, right? Like I know a bunch of people who are agnostic, or even know some like people with crypto, and they are screaming bloody murder. At first they were like, nah, Trump is going to bring about a crypto boon, okay? And even on the crypto side of things, everything is falling apart as well. JD Pondon is short the stock market, or his cronies are. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be at this LA rally too, obviously. After 86,000 attendance for the last swing, AOC to join Bernie Sanders rally in Los Angeles Grand Park on April 12th. I'll be there. I'll definitely be there. Hassan, you loser. Before he fixes things, it needs to get a little bad. It's only darkest before the dawn, brother. Stay strong. Yeah. That's what it is. Guys, stay strong, loyal patriots. Anyway, like I said, I only take my notes from what the Trump admin is saying and doing. And what the Trump admin is saying and doing is very important. Let's see what let's see what they were saying here.
It's only going up
the fuck?
Everyone thinks Trump is going to
Two objects that are the same? Oh.
Really watch the stock market.
I got owned. I got owned by the fucking
The stock
bot.
market is the only sign of life And it's only going up because everyone thinks Trump is going to win the election. You can't really watch the stock market.
We all saw the stock market soaring post-election. It reached an all-time high today, 82,000. Optimism everywhere. Just ignore the sky is falling reports in the regime press. Tune out the breathless reporting about market gyrations.
I'm excited about the economy. Look at the stock market. Our rocket ship is getting ready to take off in our economy with President Trump. We were probably overbloated with the stock market here for a while. We went up quite a bit.
Yeah, stock market went up too much. It's not supposed to always go up. It's supposed to go down sometimes. Everybody knows that. Okay? Stock market's been too hot for far too long, which, by the way, ironically enough, I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, yeah, he's not even entirely incorrect. It's just funny for him to say that right now, you know?
A bit.
You guys want to start with good news? The market's up 25% since you were won. You tweeted this out that nobody in the media brings it up, so I said, you know what, I'm going to bring it up tonight. Forget the stock market for a second here, and I have said on this program for years, it's never been my indicator in terms of the health of the economy.
Yeah. Dude, everybody turns into Robert Reich. All of the entirety of regime press turns into Robert Reich. You know, it's not a real indicator. Everybody knows that the stock market is not an indication of a healthy economy, okay? Everybody knows this. What are you guys talking about? Fantastic. Thank you.
The market always knows. So the market already started to kind of have this sort of rally, this sort of Trump rally. It's an energy, it's an electricity. We have to be very, very careful about all of this and the notion that we have to react as Americans. Dude. How long until someone on the regime media side turns around and says it's actually domestic terror? Liberals are engaging in an act of terrorism by explaining the normal market conditions in a way that is damaging, with hopes that investors will lose confidence and keep selling and will plummet the stock market further. This is an act of economic terrorism. We need to send more people to El Salvador. How long until someone says it is illegal? It is illegal to short the stock market. It is illegal and an act of terrorism. It's very obvious to me that these liberals, these elitist liberals, want our stock market to plummet because they hate Donald Trump. They have Trump derangement syndrome. They want the economy to perform poorly. And that's why they're demanding that the stock market fails and plummets. That's why they're engaging in illegal trades, such as shorting the stock market or selling off their stocks in general. And that we have to prosecute these people and we have to deport them. Stop giving them ideas. Come on, dude. I'm not giving these guys ideas. I'm just telling you what they're going to say inevitably. What? Oh, yep. Jimmy Kimmel tacitly endorses domestic terrorism, celebrates stock market turmoil, dehumanizes Elon Musk. Just wait. I mean, that's a 14-like tweet. That's irrelevant, but just wait. I'm telling you, someone on Fox News is going to say that.
Every single person in this room and the overwhelming majority of people that you know are one word away. It didn't matter if you're 13 years old when you said it. You're one word, you're one statement, you're one retweet, you're one like away from destroying your life. There are kids in America that have had their admissions to a college revoked.
That's why I, as the Secretary of State, will protect students who are criticizing the apartheid state of Israel that is doing a genocide, right? Surely that's the clip. That's the clip,
there are now
right?
certain things that you're not allowed to say on a college campus.
Mr. Secretary, a Turkish student in Boston was detained and handcuffed on the street by plainclothes agents. A year ago, she wrote an opinion piece about the Gaza war. Could you help us understand what the specific action she took led to her visa being revoked?
Yeah,
And what was your State Department's role in that process?
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist. Every single person in this room, and the overwhelming majority.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, these guys have never cared about free speech. Wake up to that reality. This is something that I used to talk about quite frequently in the most heated moments of cancel culture conversations all the way back in 2016, where I was like, oh, yeah, cancel culture? How about BDS? You talk about cancel culture, but try saying anything about Israel on a college campus, because they've always been on board with censorship. There's never been a moment in the history of the modern Republican Party where they haven't actively undermined free speech. They've always been anti-free speech. Wake up. And it's not just on the boundaries of Israel, Palestine either, even though that one is the most egregious, most overt restriction that the Republicans have always agitated towards. The likes of Barry Weiss or Ben Shapiro, who very famously presented themselves as cancel culture warriors, would also actively and consistently try to do canary mission style shit to any student protester that ever had anything to say about Israel. They never, ever strayed away from that. But it's not just on Israel either. These cancel culture warriors and the Republican Party as a whole have consistently undermined education, for example. Republicans have always been, they have always been at the bleeding edge. Always been at the bleeding edge, cutting edge of book burnings, basically. Modern book burnings. Banning books. That is a Republican pastime, and that is the Republican future. What do you think this like anti-CRT initiatives look like? Talking about critical race theory. We got to get it out of our schools. That's literally trying to manipulate education. That's a fixture of Republican domestic policy in this country. So it's not shocking to me that these very same, the very same Republican Party has reached a logical conclusion on their consistent endeavors to curb speech, to suppress speech. They've never been on board. They've just lied about it. And they went, no, you, using some of the edge cases of radlibs constantly being annoying and woke scoldy in an effort to make it seem like, and this was very successful, this was entirely a leftist project.
I don't blame them as much as I blame the people that stood, in this case I can say the men, because so far they've been all men, haven't they? But the men that sat right there behind the Resolute desk, mostly the Resolute desk, you know. I don't know if you know, you have a choice of 7 desks. The Resolute is the one I like, but some chose other ones. But they sat right behind a desk right in this location, and they let our country be hurt very badly. But I didn't do that. But we had a very good talk, the Prime Minister and myself, and I think things are going to work out very well between Canada and the United States. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Mr. President, how is the talks with India on tariff going on, and what is the expectation from India? How much do you want them?
Well, as you know, Prime Minister Modi was here just recently, and we've always been very good friends. India is one of the highest tariffing nations in the world. You know that. I know. Thank you for shaking your head, but it's brutal. It's brutal. They're very smart, and he's a very smart man and a great friend of mine, actually. And we had very good talks. I think it's going to work out very well between India and our country. Very, very well. And I want to say you have a great Prime Minister.
Mr. President, there's been a very serious earthquake in Burma, or Myanmar today, with up to several hundred killed.
Yeah.
The military regime there has asked for help from anybody.
Yeah, we're going to be helping. We've already alerted the people. Yeah, it's terrible what's happened. It's helping. We've already spoken with the country. Okay, please.
Mr. President, yesterday you asked Representative Stefanik to stay in her seat. Can you explain your reason for that? Did it have anything to do with the tight polling in the Florida district that former Representative Waltz held?
Well, I think we're doing, I think we had, as you know, we have a few elections going on. And she is phenomenal, number one. She's a friend of mine, and she was going to go to the United Nations. And I said, look, there's a lot of room for doing that or something else. But she's very popular in her district, and I didn't want to take a chance. I don't even know who else is running. I assume somebody else would have been running. But if she runs, she can't be, you never want to say can't be beaten, but I think can't be beaten.
He seems pissed today. Yeah, he sees the market screaming bloody murder. It's not, that's never going to be a good day.
She's very, very well-liked and very smart. And I said, Lise, would you do me a favor? We cannot take a chance. We have a slim margin. We don't want to take any chances. We don't want to experiment. And she polls like I do. I won her district, as you know, by a lot of points. And she also does very well there. When it comes to Florida, you have two races, and they seem to be good. It's a Trump plus 32 area. The one thing is they're spending like $12 million, and our candidate doesn't have that kind of money, spending much less than that, like maybe 1/12, about $1 million, a little bit more than $1 million. So the airwaves are blanketed, and you never know what happens in a case like that. I won it by 32 points, and it's very, very strong. It used to be Democrat, but when I came along, they liked me for whatever reason. You'll have to explain that, but they liked me, and we're way up. But you don't know what happened. Second district, who seems
they've even bricked the cameras, bro. It's over.
To be in pretty good shape, but likewise, he's being outspent about 5-1. So we don't want to take any chances. So I went to Elise and I said, Elise, do you mind? Very highly rated person, you know, she was a real leader. And she will be again. I spoke with Mike Johnson. They're going to put her in a high leadership position. But will you mind staying in Congress? Because we don't want to take any chances. And it's as simple as that. It's basic politics. It's politics 101. She's very popular. She's going to win. And somebody else will probably win, too, because we did very well there. I did very well there. But the word probably is no good. So I really appreciate her doing it. She's doing me a big favor when she does it, because she was all set to go to the United Nations, and she would have dealt with Putin and Zelensky and everybody else, and she would have been very effective. But we really don't want to take any chances because it is tight.
Mr. President,
go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. You and your team apprehended a top 3 leader in the violent gang MS-13 yesterday, just 30 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. What has made you and your team so effective in finding, locating, apprehending, and deporting these violent, illegal migrants?
I love this guy. I wish more people would ask questions like that. But thank you. That's very nice. I appreciate it. And they happen. All you're doing is being fair with you when you ask a question in that way. Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and all of the rest of law enforcement, and I think we have to include ICE and Border Patrol, you know, Paul of Border Patrol, the whole group from Border Patrol. They're so incredible, and it's, you know, dangerous stuff, hard stuff, and it's really an unforced error, because these people were allowed into this country. They shouldn't have been in this country. They would have never been in this country. We're getting rid of some of the worst criminals in the world. They came out of jails and mental institutions from all over the world. But Pam and the whole group, and Cash, who's here, and it's so good to have him. I see him all over. He's working 24 hours a day, but the job they've done is incredible. And they caught one of the worst criminals in the world, I guess, in terms of evilness. You don't get any worse than the MS-13 guys and the Tren de Aragua guys. It's you could flip a coin. It's a rough group. And, you know, the big thing is they have to be able to do this.
I think it's important to recognize that you could just like make a new enemy up and pump that through every orifice of media, both mainstream and independent, and basically use that to justify rounding up people with no reason whatsoever, erode due process, and
overextend the Alien Enemies Act in a way that we haven't done historically to even Nazis, and just mass deport through dragnets a bunch of people to a slave labor camp in a different country. Like, think about how fast this Trendaragua stuff exploded. Trendaragua is minuscule, okay? Like, MS-13 at the very least was a serious force, okay? A prison gang of primarily El Salvadoran immigrants living in LA, living in the United States of America, that ironically enough were deported back to El Salvador without telling the El Salvadoran government at the time, that became a destabilizing force in the country, right? That then had a direct line of communication with America, like a trade route with America, that were able to actively undermine El Salvador. Like, there's no, that's not a lie. And to say that they're brutal is not incorrect. That's a correct assessment. Trendaragua, on the other hand, is a Venezuelan prison gang that is marginal. Like, it's tiny, it's minuscule. It's not like a serious force inside of the United States of America. It never was. They just kind of decided to make that the new MS-13, and they were able to do so. They were genuinely able to greatly overemphasize the impact and power that Trendaragua had, and now they're using that as a now they've expanded the vague definition of terrorism to Trendaragua. Okay, just that one apartment complex is seized. They didn't seize an apartment complex. This is what I mean. This is actually what I mean. It's not real. Maybe because I grew up in Turkey and I saw terrorism as a designation that the government used over and over again to silence political dissent. But I think it's very dangerous that both the Trump administration both use the terrorism designation and slap it onto whoever they see fit, and then claim that whoever they have decided is a terrorist, whoever they've decided is like a part of this gang that is now a terrorist, can just be deported. And it was just entirely designed in such a short period of time, mind you, with no real hard evidence, just completely made up. You also against free speech and free thinking. You also against free thinking. You also aren't exactly free speech, but of course you conveniently never see my messages. You also against free speech and free thinking. Yeah, the free thinkers in here. Explain what you mean, chatter. Okay? Explain what you mean. There has never been as severe a violation against free speech in this country, as processed and as serialized as right now. Talking about re-education, oh my God, dude, you are such a fucking moron. No, you don't need to be re-educated. You need to be educated, okay? You can't re-educate someone who hasn't been educated. Like, my memes about fucking re-education are not serious policy. I'm a Twitch streamer. You know what's serious policy? The Trump administration doing this right now. Like, blackbagging and kidnapping people and disappearing them. That's real. That's what the government is doing. Oh, my Lord.
Their job. I know I was watching it on television like you, and I saw the home that he lived in a good area, but boy, they had a lot of weaponry in there, right? Highly sophisticated, really brutal stuff. So I appreciate the question, and I just want to thank Cash and Pam and the whole group for doing a fantastic, and the local law enforcement who's been so terrific, even first responders. So I want to thank everybody, and thank you very much.
Mr. President, I wanted to say, first of all, happy Women's Month. You do so much for women by, first of all, keeping men out of women's sports, and you platform so many.
That was an easy one. That was crazy.
You've platformed so many great women, like your Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. You also have Caroline.
Just want to point out that the left warned this would happen when the Patriot Act first passed, when centrist Democrats sided with the Bush admin. Shocking that centrist Dems are doing nothing to stop this. Where is the calls for general strikes, legislative blockades, and protests? They did nothing but tweet. I know. I know. You are absolutely correct. There needs to be mass mobilization against this stuff. And ironically enough, the Democrats, I don't expect them to lead the charge on this, unfortunately, because I have no confidence in them. But I would at least expect them to cause more of a fuss so that there's more coverage on this in mainstream press. And they're not even doing more, like they're not even freaking out over this. They're behaving like collaborators. It's insane. May 1st, general strike, please platform it. Oh, God. Chatter. You can't do a general strike by just tweeting about it. Oh, my God. There's already mobilization that takes years to do something like that, especially in the United States of America. It's being implemented 4 years down the line, or 3 years now at this point. Yeah, let's do a general strike 3 days from now. Holy moly.
Doing a great job as press secretary. Now Alina will be joining as well.
Stop being a cynic. What are you saying? That's not being cynical. That's being a fucking adult and knowing. Don't get mad. 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 Yes, chatter. General strike May 1st in 3 days from now. You did it. I can't. Oh, God. I should not get so mad at people. Why not call for action? May 1st is a month from now. It's a month. Okay. Sorry, you're right. It's a month from now. You definitely have time to mobilize in 1 month. I apologize. It's not 3 days from now. It's a month from now. You definitely have time to mobilize. You're correct. Yeah. Okay. This is something that I've talked about a lot, and I think, there's a lot of kind-hearted, empathetic individuals who just don't understand how this process works. You can't simply call for a general strike online. You have to go to labor unions. Labor unions have to coalesce. They have to get together and figure out how this mobilization will occur. It takes a tremendous undertaking. That's not how this happens. Us chatters in here will not be able to do it regardless. It has to come from labor union leadership. It's not as simple as like putting it on your Google Calendar and just not showing up for work one day. No, it has to come from rank and file. Yes, but it has to come from rank and file all the way up to union leadership. Unions have to build coalitions amongst themselves and have enough funds to withstand the economic pressure that will take place. Many of you do not comprehend how significant of an undertaking this is. You just think it's posting. It doesn't work that way.
Democrats seem to struggle answering this question. I wanted to ask you, what is a woman and why is it important that we understand the difference between men and women?
Well, it's sort of easy to answer for me because a woman is somebody that can have a baby under certain circumstances. She has a quality. A woman is a person who's much smarter than a man, I've always found. A woman is a person that doesn't give a man even a chance of success. And a woman's a person that in many cases has been treated very badly, because I think that what happens with this crazy issue of men being able to play in women's sports is just ridiculous and very unfair to women and very demeaning to women. And that's got to be about a 94%. I read today it was a 94% issue. And I watched the other day, a congressman, a Democrat congressman, fighting for the fact that men should be allowed to compete essentially in women's sports. And I say, I hope they keep that going because they'll never win another election. That's a big deal. But
it's so funny because they're not even doing that. Like the transphobic messaging aside, like what Democrat is like, you know what? I'm gonna stake a claim here. This is my fight. This is my battle. I'm gonna make sure that trans women still participate in sports. Like that's not even a thing that they're doing. But again, what are the Democrats doing? What kind of message are you hearing from the Democrats? Are they united? Do they demonstrate messaging discipline? Are they actively talking about all of the awful things that the Trump administration is doing and how that's going to harm, or how that already is harming regular Americans, disrupting the American economy, making things less affordable instead of more affordable? Are they doing all of that? No, they're not. They're not. They're not doing it. There's not enough momentum.
Women are basically incredible people.
So when you don't do that, it does not matter. The Republicans could just keep lying about what you're doing, and people will eat it up.
Do so much for our country, and we love our women, and we're going to take care of our women. Yeah.
What was your reason for pardoning Trevor Milton?
Highly recommended by many people. That was taken advantage of. He did a business deal like in Utah, as I have it, and I think he was exonerated, and then they brought him into New York, where he had a rough road. I mean, he was exonerated. It was a big celebration. Again, I don't know him, but they say it was very unfair, and they say the thing that he did wrong was he was one of the first people that supported a gentleman named Donald Trump for president. He supported Trump. He liked Trump. I didn't know him, but he liked him. It was in Utah, and they went after him. They went after his family. They went after his businesses. And he was, I believe, exonerated, and then they went after him again, and they brought him this time into Manhattan, and he had nothing to do with Manhattan. And they got him, and I said, that's unfair. There are many people like that. They support Trump, and they went after him. You don't realize this is a vicious group of people that were in this office before us. This is a vicious group. They're violent. What they were doing to people, and you could go story after hundreds and even thousands of stories, and they went after this man. And when I heard about it, I said, nope, not going to happen. They destroyed 5 years of his life. He fought for 5 years of his life, and he did nothing wrong. And he's a good person. And basically, I had these fantastic recommendations about him from people that you know very well, all top-of-the-line people. They thought it was a horrible thing. There are many such cases, by the way, many such cases.
Mr. President, should Americans buy cars now if they want to avoid
Please go
higher
ahead.
prices?
Thank you, Mr. President. Have you spoken with Vladimir Putin about buying weapons from Iran and from North Korea?
Not about specifically that. No, I haven't.
Well, that seems to be an issue.
Feels like that should get brought up. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of funny that
That's like, look, I'm not exactly a squishy NatSec liberal, but I feel like that's at least something that you talk about. No? Like, really? That's not a thing that you talk about at all? I don't know. Am I crazy? I feel like
that you want to make important is.
Well, I'm making all issues important.
he's like, yes, I don't like it. I don't like that Putin is buying from North Korea. He should be buying from me. We have beautiful artillery shell facilities in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Zelensky came and saw them alongside Biden. Those artillery facilities could be making brave, beautiful artillery shells for the Russian troops liberating Donbass. Many people never talk about Donbass. Nobody talks about the Donbass. Why are they buying from North Korea? Half of them are duds. Half of those artillery shells are duds. They don't have processing and manufacturing like we do. We make brave and beautiful artillery shells. They should be using it in LPR and DPR.
You got a lot of important issues. You also have the children issue that's important. It's a lot of children are living in Russia right now. That's a horrible situation that would have never taken place if and the country is being decimated. But, they're losing 2,500 on average young men, mostly men, almost in all cases men, actually, but young men every single week, 2,500. And they're not from our country. They're from Ukraine and they're from Russia. But it's human lives. And if we can get it stopped, and I think we're making progress. But there's a lot of ill will between the parties.
Should Americans buy cars now if they want to avoid higher prices? And then just a
No,
follow-up.
I don't think so. I think you're going to have a country that's going to boom. I just spoke to Tim Cook of Apple. He's investing $500 billion in the United States, which he would have never. He told me, I would never have done it if you lost the election, and I would have never done it if there wasn't a tariff system that is a incentive for people to come. And remember, there are no tariffs. All you have to do is do your work right here. If you have your company here, if you build your product, make your car or whatever it is you're making, no tariffs. And we're going to have, I think, Scott, I would say we're close to $4 trillion, even going close to $5 trillion. Now, we haven't had that for years. If you add up years, they haven't invested like that. And here we are in 2 months. We think we're up to close to $5 trillion of investment. They're going to build car plants. They're already building. Many of them have already started. And if you build a car in the United States, and one thing that I just spoke with John Thune about, I just spoke to Mike Johnson about, Speaker, we're going to do something that has never been done in this country before. I'm very proud to say it was my idea. And so sometimes a simple idea, they say, how'd you think of that one? It's so simple, it was never done. If you buy a car in the United States that's made in the United States, if it's manufactured here, when you borrow money, if you borrow money, you have interest payments, we're going to let you deduct the interest payment for income tax reasons. And I think that's going to more than pay for itself. I think people are going to be, they've never had a deduction. Deductions are supposed to be for like rich people, and it's unfair to have that. But rich people are, I think I know more about deductions than any human being on earth. But, the truth is that people that are middle-income people that buy a car and actually have to borrow money, they're going to now get an interest deduction on their car if it's made in the United States. If it's made someplace else, that won't take place. But car companies, as you know, are already expanding and building new plants. They've already started. And I think you're going to see numbers. Howard, you're seeing it, and Scott, you're seeing it. You're going to see numbers the likes of which you've never seen before. Yeah, please go ahead.
The vice president is in Greenland right now. Do you have plans to expand U.S. military presence in Greenland? Is that
We get along very well with Greenland. We get along very well with Denmark.
Do you? It doesn't feel like it.
We've always had a good. Denmark does a lot of business in the United States. We don't do so much there, but they do a lot of business in the United States. And I think they want to see, I think everybody wants to see that work out. We need Greenland, very importantly, for international security. We have to have Greenland. It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can. If you look at Greenland right now, if you look at the waterways, you have...
Dude, what is Trump? 14 minutes and 50 seconds. Virtually everything Donald Trump has said is a lie. Companies are opening up new facilities. I haven't seen it. Objectively untrue. If anything, I've only seen companies deny reports that they are increasing manufacturing in the United States of America. And I am infinitely more sympathetic to the concepts of tariffs than the average person is on the liberal all the way to the left side. And I look at this stuff and I see that the UAW is backing the at least automobile manufacturing tariffs, because I think they also think that this will lead to a boost in domestic manufacturing. I understand the fundamentals behind Donald Trump saying American manufacturing leaving, American manufacturing being shipped overseas was disastrous for the American economy, for the conditions of the American working class, for sure. I recognize that. It's true. It's a truthful statement. Of course, the reason why that happened was because of the same corporations that are backing this candidacy. The same interest that Donald Trump absolutely is on board with. So it's not like he's a pro-labor union kind of guy. As a matter of fact, yesterday he signed off on virtually all federal workers no longer being able to strike, no longer being able to engage in collective bargaining agreements. Like that right there is the most severe drawback that is perhaps unconstitutional as well. Not that this Supreme Court would ever entertain that notion. He's not pro-labor union at all. Here's the UAW president, Sean Fain, my goat. Attacks on federal workers. It says, yesterday, President Trump signed an order that tramples on the union rights of more than 1 million federal workers, stripping them of their ability to negotiate over their working conditions. The 1 million members of the UAW stand with federal workers and their union, AFGE, against the attacks on the Trump administration, from the Trump administration. When I was 12, the Reagan administration famously busted the air traffic controllers union PATCO, firing over 11,000 striking controllers and blacklisting them from federal jobs. It wasn't just about PATCO. It sent a message to employers everywhere that it was open season on the working class. The labor movement failed to act in that moment, and we have been paying the price ever since. I want to look something up real quick. I want to look at the... Yeah, if you look at total labor union density in 1983, it was still fairly low in comparison to other countries, of course, because America's always been incredibly anti-union, incredibly anti-labor in general. But in 1983, labor union density, as a matter of fact, was 20.1%. 20%. Labor union density now in the United States is under 10%. So the actions of Ronald Reagan played a tremendous role in this. The actions that the administration has taken today are many times worse than PATCO, affecting over 1 million federal employees across at least 18 agencies. These actions are just not an attack just on unions. It's an attack on free speech, on workers' rights to organize, on the very idea that people should have a say in their own jobs and futures. Our own members are affected by these actions, including hundreds of UAW members at National Institutes of Health. We have learned from the past and won't sit back quietly while unions are dismantled. The labor movement is not about party politics. We aren't Democrats or Republicans. We're trade unionists. And when you come after workers, you're going to find us standing shoulder to shoulder, ready to fight back. This is the statement from Sean Fain, president of the UAW. And I think... this is the tip of the spear, I would say, in terms of fighting back against this administration. regardless of not being able to put together a general strike across the board, you have to understand that labor unions, especially in key sectors, still have tremendous power, even as an individual union. Okay? Even as an individual union, despite the fact that labor union density has diminished, which allows for politicians to just cast them aside as a less powerful interest group that they don't have to abide by, which then undermines undermines non-unionized employees as well. But the reality of the matter is, that one union alone could shut down the entirety of the American economy. Okay? Whether it be the UAW, whether it be the Teamsters, whether it be the Longshoremen's Union. You have to understand that. Labor unions are so powerful still, even with the diminished status that they have. Labor unions, if they were to decide to fight, they could technically shut down the entire economy. Of course, people will say the ILA loves Trump, Teamsters love Trump, or at least not the rank and file, but union leadership loves Trump. And I'm not going to say anything about that, friend of the show and all. And I do agree with your criticisms there. I think that they are far too friendly with an administration that is inherently antagonistic. But this kind of stuff is not ignorable. Okay, you can't just cast it aside and say, "Hey, what are you going to do about it?" And Teamsters do still have a policy of not crossing picket lines. So regardless, it would take for the UAW or the ILA or any union to strike, for the Teamsters to whatever, regardless of what Sean O'Brien's attitude is, to abide by that standard. Can you put a link to the Vivian article under your tweet and give the author credit? The author is mad you cropped her out of the screenshot. What? Where? Where did I do that? What's the... Sure. I mean, yeah. I meant no disrespect. My bad. My B to Ella Yerman and photographer Andy Jackson. Here, I'll link it under. I was gonna talk about the article in the combo that we're having, but what's the is this Ella Yerman? Is this the person who wrote it? Is this their they're being weird and claiming you didn't credit them because they're trans? Yes. Well, I am a foe. Famously. I think that chatter was baiting. No, yeah, they're joking, man. What are you talking about? This person is not actually mad. You're so dumb. God damn it, dude. Of course this person is joking. Wait, this is...
personal friend of Ella's here. There's a bit. Yes, this is like a very common meme in the LGBT community. How the fuck do you guys still not know this? It's like a year. It is a multiple years long bit now. Chatters are like, she claims Hassan viciously beat her. No, it's not. Yeah. Everybody calm down. Do not tell Hasanabi you're trans is like a years long bit at this point. Is scaring you a part of the bit? I mean, I'm not scared. This is, I meant no disrespect to this journalist. What do you fucking mean? I wasn't even thinking when I actually cropped this. Yeah, this is where it initially started. Chad is too autistic for the bit. Yeah, I know. It's so funny. Anyway, let's get back to the matter at hand here. As I was talking about, the Trump administration is not pro-union at all. They're not pro-labor at all. So I don't know what they're trying to do with the tariffs. Like, will it boost American manufacturing? It has the capacity to do so. Having said that, given their antagonistic relationship with labor across the board and the many policy initiatives they've taken so far to undermine labor union and labor protections across the board, I don't see this being a boon for the American working class in the way that Trump presents it.
Chinese and Russian ships all over the place. And we're not going to be able to do that. We're not relying on Denmark or anybody else to take care of that situation. And we're not talking about peace for the United States. We're talking about world peace. We're talking about international security. And right now, you look at it, you have warships all over the place going through right along Greenland. We're not going to let that happen. We cannot let that happen. Or if